Hey everyone, Joe Glines here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, and Jackie from Copenhagen here, Denmark.
So on our quick chat today, we were going to talk about different AutoHotkey sites, and actually not just the what's there, but why you'd go to which one, each one. So in this one, by the way, we're not going to read out the URLs, but we'll mention the name. But you might want to watch part of the video. I'll post everything you see here in the notes of this video, so you can have hopefully all the hyperlinks. I don't know if can you put that many links in the.
I don't know how many links will work, but I know you can put links at least.
Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll post this. If it doesn't work, I'll post it at my site, then I'll put a link to my site where you can get all these things. So starting off, obviously there's the AutoHotkey Forum, right? Amazing forum with the nicest people on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. So helpful. Granted, and I know, Jackie, you know more about this than I do, but at some point the forum switched over to use Google for their searches, right? I'd still say I have my little hotkey, like if I hit caps S and I type, let's say web page, it will run, it goes to Google and tells it to search the site autohotkey.com for whatever I type in here. And that, to me, I get better results than I do if I actually do a search on the forum itself. But I think talking to you, it really should be almost the same thing. Is that right?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Yeah, so enlighten me.
With the old forum software we had a link to a custom search. It still exists. This custom search still exists. If you go to the AutoHotkey homepage and click search in the top of the homepage, you'll actually get to this. No, that's the community. That's the forum.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Go to the front page.
So this
if you click search there, then you'll get to the custom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it of course has a few limitations, but it's actually doing the same thing as you're doing.
Okay.
It just has more than one site. It also has the old site, and it has the forum. And
wow, this is awesome. I'm glad we. I love doing these things. I get to learn. Very cool.
But the forum search, it's just what are they called? PBR or PP forum or whatever, that forum search.
Yeah, this search, yeah.
Yeah, totally normal search, so just as limited as on every other forum. Yeah.
So. The one thing I'll say that if you actually do a lot of stuff on the forum, because I'll do stuff like from years ago, and then I can't remember what in the world where it was, but I can come here to Quick Links and look at my posts. And generally speaking, because I'll have written on the topic, or even if I say that's really cool, that's one of the reasons why I'll do that, because I can come back in here and look at what I have posted, and that's where I can say like, oh, that's where that thing was that I liked. But anyway,
you're using a different theme on the forum that I am, so yours looks a little different.
Yeah,
I like mine better.
Yeah. But back to the whole point of the forum is obviously it's an amazing place. It has an amazing amount of wealth. For those of you new to AutoHotkey, also Jackie alluded to earlier, there used to be a different forum, and it was also basically with the older vanilla version of AutoHotkey, right? Not the _L, and the syntax was also at that time. Now I'm confusing things because it wasn't like when we switched to _L, we switched forums, right? That didn't happen. However, the majority of, I think I can say that, the majority or a lot of the stuff under the old forum is under the old version of AutoHotkey, and the new forum is under the _L. It's not quite as cut and dry as that, but it does come up. So at times when you'll find one that's frozen, and that's one, I'm trying to think if I have any here off the top of my head, where I know I can click on it and you could recognize that it's on the old forum. Would that be one? I think that's one of his new ones. Oh, no. I just referred to it the other day. There was a regular... I was showing the post for where to find regular expressions, and there's a Groden from Philo, I think that he had one, and it's I believe that's on the old forum. Anyway, but it's a great site, great place to look for information. People, generally speaking, I would, out of all the stuff that I would say on if we had a continuum from people are on this right now and are going to give you support, versus on this side where it's really takes a long time to get a response, I'd put this a little bit below like Discord and IRC, but it's up there, right? People are constantly monitoring and looking, and there's admins that actually that are amazing at helping people with stuff, and it's my go-to. So that one, as well as Stack Overflow, are my two go-to. When I do a first search, that's what I built into this. When I hit my caps lock S and type, it does a search both on the forum and on Stack Overflow, and those are my two go-to for when I'm trying to find if anyone's done anything on a given topic. Those are the two that I go to, right away.
Yeah, totally. And I'd say the forum was the place that I used the most. Now, when I don't have the same amount of time to sit and monitor for new messages and write out answers, I get my fix for something a little quicker, like Discord, where I can come in. Maybe someone has a one-line question, I can answer it. I can go do whatever I need to do. So, of course, the speed of what happens on the forum or maybe on Stack Overflow and stuff like that is, of course, lower, but also more in depth.
Yeah. I was just going to add that's right. Even if we were going on depth, the forum, I would say, is one of the richest, deepest ones in depth. Stack Overflow often is much more compartmentalized. How do I get this function to work or this little bit of thing? It's still great stuff, but it's the forum. You'll see people posting, besides a lot of code examples, right? And there's whole sections on the where to go for support versus finding other scripts that are completely done and you can borrow. But on the forum, I think of much more bigger questions where I post all of my code and have people come in and try to help me with the whole thing. Whereas Stack Overflow, it's like bite-sized deals.
I'd say the forum is actually something that you can learn from by reading it after it happened.
Yeah.
Whereas with some of the others, that's a bit more hard. And as you said yourself, Stack Overflow, I have this function, it doesn't work, it does something wrong, whatever. And someone might come in, make a few comments, might post something that works. So you can get a good idea and a good insight into how to do a specific thing. Whereas with the forum, the poster and the answer will often work through the topic a bit more. They do the same in IRC or in Discord, but because you can't as easily follow the flow of the conversation when you're reading it afterwards, the forum is just better at doing that.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to this, though, compared to most of the other things we've listed here, Stack Overflow has the one benefit of, you don't actually have to look for an AutoHotkey solution. Like if you're doing web scraping, it might have a JavaScript solution, which often is pretty easy to borrow from, right? Actually, this morning, that was another question I was going to have for you before we started our call. Was I was having a problem with the web page where the element was there, but it wasn't visible. And so if I tested if it existed or not, it did exist, and it would try to go past it, but it wasn't visible yet. And so I had to wait for it to become visible. And but I finally actually on Stack Overflow, I saw someone answer the question with JavaScript, and it was really easy for me to adapt what I did for AutoHotkey. So sometimes I find solutions on Stack Overflow that aren't actually for AutoHotkey, but they're easy to adapt. Actually, VBA is the other thing in Stack Overflow, right? For COM stuff, it's often very similar, so it's easy to adopt from.
That's some of the things that I really, really love about especially how COM has been implemented in AutoHotkey. And
Great.
that's the whole idea of COM generally, is to do something in a common way, the common object module or model or whatever it's called. Can't remember anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the whole idea of COM, is to kind of make it all look similar. And I just love that instead of someone having written some library with some obscure way of accessing it and doing it, which was the original way, because that was the limit of AutoHotkey Basic, that you couldn't really do much in that manner. You had to do user-defined functions to make all of the calls. And he tried to allow for it by phrasing strings that you passed to it and stuff like that. But the way that Lecticos implemented it, with the help of some other people.
Sean, I think, right? I think Sean did a lot of that.
Sean did a lot of it, and I think that Finks, he also did a lot of the implementation code, and then Lecticos was maybe the one actually implemented it, but still it was a joint venture or whatever you call that. But it's just lovely to know that you can go to something like Stack Overflow, and because it is made to look like the way it was originally thought out, you can use code from other languages because it's the same.
Yeah, and actually, occasionally, the WinHTTP requests, right? Those are on Stack Overflow, and generally, the syntax is very, very close to what you find there. Even though it's not written for AutoHotkey, it's super easy to borrow from. I've solved
because it's COM.
Yeah, and it's a Microsoft. Yeah,
and it's the same with VBA. It's Microsoft. It's Windows. It's the idea is just generally it's the same. As soon as you pass into objects and COM, it's just so easy to find examples that you can almost copy paste from other languages. Whereas I've seen only a few, maybe in Python and some others, where someone has sat down and almost made an entire framework to do web stuff, but you need to learn that entire thing. And if your community like ours isn't as big as like Python's is, it would be hard for you to actually find resources that would explain how to do different things with that library or that method or that framework. So it's great that we have gotten those things added in.
The next one on our list here is GitHub. Now, we just mentioned one source which does have a lot of libraries, and what do they call it? Not Git. There's another different terminology on GitHub for the groups of. Is it a library? I can't remember. They call it something else, don't they? But anyway, this is one that has a lot listed in it. But just search GitHub for AutoHotkey, and you'll see other ones where people have posted their entire functions and libraries and classes, and it's GitHub has a lot of advantages to a repository for forking things and keeping track of versions and other information. So it's definitely a good source to check.
Absolutely, and I'd say with the link we have there to the main AutoHotkey repertoire, it's funny when you get to a certain stage, if you have some kind of question, and some I've seen at least a few others who have maybe tried to do C# or whatever it might be, and they're interested in knowing how AutoHotkey does its image search or whatever it might be. And the source is right there. It's open. You can just go and read it, and you can see exactly how the developers of AutoHotkey has done all of the stuff. So AutoHotkey, it's just great that you can actually go in and check that if you wanted to do it in some other language.
The other thing I'll add on to that for GitHub, because we ran into this in the AutoHotkey Forum, right? The initial one where I forget exactly what happened. I think someone did something to the forum and we lost hundreds or thousands of backup versions of the actual code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which there is you can find a lot of it, but people were able to restore it. But the great thing about GitHub is you don't have to necessarily worry that, like on the forum, someone might put a link to their source data and it's under their Dropbox, and then later they delete it, and yet so the source code's gone. And the great thing about GitHub, generally speaking, is it's still it's not going to go down and disappear.
The thing that was done with the AutoHotkey community was that someone, I don't remember who, had bought a separate domain, and people started storing their scripts on that domain because it was free online storage.
Right.
So they did that and they linked to it. So people kept just storing the script file on that server and linking to it instead of posting the actual script code in the forum. And all of a sudden, that site was hacked and everything was lost. So the problem was that all of what has been, maybe for an entire year almost, had just been wiped clean from that server. And everybody that has asked for questions or posted script examples and stuff like that had just posted it on that server and made a link for it. And that was kind of unfortunate. I know that there was quite a bit of work done to kind of make people who had physical copies of that different types of code to kind of assemble most of it back. But it was quite a blow to lose that server at that time.
Yeah, which is why I, generally speaking, I post my source code and don't link to it, just because I just don't want to have to worry that, like, I move a file later and it's gone, and I'd rather just get it out there.
Yeah, because there was a trend for doing that a lot at one point, but storing it as text that can be read afterwards, and GitHub does that, and I'm pretty sure that even if they were hacked, their backups have backups because it's their livelihood. But still, it makes good sense to use something that's a little bit bigger than just an AutoHotkey server to store whatever. And I know, I can't remember who it is, but there is that they use it to make temporary scripts on Discord and Arc. I can't remember the address right now. p.autohotkey script.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. I use that.
Something like that. But a script is only stored for so long on there. So you can't use it for a long thing that you'll reference in a year or anything like that. It's what's the I know the one you're talking about. Oh, actually, I have a note to myself here somewhere. Where is it? Because I have a clip bin type of or paste bin. Is a similar concept, right? But you put it up there. It's out there, but it doesn't necessarily last forever. No, exactly. There is no promise of it lasting more than, I can't remember, 3 weeks or something like that.
Which actually, maybe we should add that. Nah, I mean, you can't. Can you search? I guess you can search that site, can't you? But again, it's like the stuff disappears. I definitely wouldn't be looking there unless you have a direct link to something. I wouldn't be searching that site.
No, and that's the exact thing, right? It's more of a here and now type of see, I have some code. So instead of uploading it to someone somewhere or posting a giant wall of text, you would upload it there. It would get syntax highlighting, and you would be able to edit it and path it back and forth. It's a great little tool, but it is kind of meant as a one moment type of thing, temporary. Yeah.
So the next one is we're going pretty slow here. Reddit is I would put it a little below, somewhere between Stack Overflow and AutoHotkey Forum as far as the depth, right? The nice thing is, people, correct me if I'm wrong, people are often live, so you can post a question. I'd say on average, there's more people. Well, you might get someone actively helping you right away versus the forum. It may take a day or two. On Reddit, people will often be around within that hour or so and give you some support, right?
Yeah.
And you can search it later, right? And things stay there, so there's history, and you can find stuff. So it's a good source.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I've been a little bit put off by Reddit, but that's probably their modifiers or whatever.
Moderators,
Moderators, fair enough. But it's still a good resource. And if you like Reddit or the way that they do things, just do that. It's just another way of making a forum or making Stack Overflow. It's very much the same, all of those.
Yeah, but back to your point about the moderators, you and I both have had issues getting shadow banned, not on the AutoHotkey subreddit. So don't get us wrong. We're not commenting on the AutoHotkey moderators, but other ones, like, people are really persnickety of very particular about what you do and this and that, and they'll ban you, and it's just they're very temperamental and sometimes small-minded, or it's the power, like, I am the moderator, I can control what it's so I'm the same way of you, of like, I don't actually, that's one of the reasons, even though it's not the AutoHotkey subreddit, they're generally pretty good about it. But I generally stay away from it.
If I might only have actually posted AutoHotkey related stuff on the AutoHotkey Reddit, and that might be why I have never actually encountered any problems with it. Not because I've actually spammed or anything other places of Reddit, but for some reason, some subreddits are just a little uptight. Might be a good word for it. So.
I would leave out the little, but yeah. All right, Discord. So it's honestly, I am almost never there, but I mean, there are people live there. You can screen share. The stuff is recorded, so there's a history. You can search it later. And people are also, a lot of them from the forum, right? They're there actively hanging out, will offer good support in live. And so you can share your code and share your screen even. And it's I don't know why I don't go there more. I guess because I rarely look for support on something instead of going and looking for a solution that someone's already written,
I'd say I do go to Discord maybe a couple of times a week or something, and it's more like okay, now I've read that entire thing, and maybe I'm at work or whatever, and just pass over to that, see, or is there some funny discussion going on or whatever, and then on. It's not really a place where I do much code help but if you have some kind of code related topic, AutoHotkey meta thing that's just putting you off, why do I need a comma there, or go there, discuss it, rant about it, whatever you need to do, and someone will be there to actually chat about AutoHotkey with you.
And I'll say this, that's the biggest thing between the forum, Stack Overflow, and Reddit, is it's very different. And Jackie and I are both big believers in this, of live and asking a question and showing what you're doing, and having someone that can see what you're doing in live, either it's just a chat or you're doing a voice and video or whatever, to give you that feedback. It's hugely different, right? Mm-hmm. Your ability to grasp things and stop someone in mid-sentence and say, wait a minute, what in the world is that? Or, I didn't realize that, and expound on that. It's so different and so much more efficient to me. So that's why I totally love that overall concept, because it's just interactive, right? And that changes the dynamics and can be much more quick to answer your, where you realize where you were getting hung up on. And I can't tell you how many times I'll be doing stuff with Jackie or with Maestrith, and they're talking through a solution. I'm like, wait, what'd you just say? Like, and have them expand a little bit more on that. And suddenly I actually really grasp the whole thing instead of just saying, well, I'll just take the code and, I don't really understand how it works, but it works. I want to learn why it works so I don't have to bug anybody next time or tweaking it. Yeah.
It is great to kind of work together on stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure. Discord is a good place to do that.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, when I wish I saw more of this, and actually maybe we need to plan on one of the webinars or something to do this, I think it'd be a great exercise, is we had a great one with which actually that stayed in our webinar from the last one. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but Dale showed an example of a code that he had for doing a certain thing, and it wasn't terrible code, but it was a little long. And live during the webinar, Captain Odin rewrote it the first time, and then he's like, here's a more optimized solution, or possible. And then he rethought the whole thing and did it again. And being able to see someone else redo what you do and talk through the benefits of it it's how I've learned so much of actual. I go in leaps and bounds, right? When someone rewrites what I did and have them explain, how it works. It's not looking at someone else's code and not understanding why they wrote. Actually, Jackie, I remember, what was it? You answered one of my questions years ago on web scraping thing, and I was so like, I didn't understand at all like what you did, and I'm like, I think you know how when you were looping over something and basically you wrapped it with the while, but then you put in the paren, and then you put the second paren on the outside, and you said like, dot equals this, colon equals this, but then you had the paren and then it extended past that. And I'm like, what in good God name are you doing here? Like, I didn't make any sense to me at the time. But when you have stuff like that, it's so hard to learn when other people do stuff more advanced than what you're used to, right? You're like, I don't understand what you're doing. But when people rewrite, when you're trying to look at someone else's code and understand what they did and see how it applies, it's really hard. When it's your own code and they rewrite it and you understand what the goal was, and now you start seeing it, it's so much easier to grasp of what they're doing. So anyway,
and that's where live or mentoring or whatever you would call all of those things really, really comes into its stride, because the thing with you knowing exactly what the code did or what you want it to do, or what the goal of it is, and seeing that being optimized or rewritten, or while someone is able to explain your the places where you are in doubt.
Yes. Exactly.
That's really, really a good thing. And I think that even though we are the hosts of the webinar, we have as well gotten a lot out of that.
I have, absolutely. Yeah. Now moving on to IRC, I don't know, do you go there anymore?
No, I did, but Discord has totally taken that small amount of time that I use on live stuff. And just because Discord was visually more pleasing, and I felt that I had an easier time of following who was saying what when.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah. So
and correct me if I'm wrong, IRC disappears relatively quickly after your conversation happens, at least compared to Discord, right? It's you can't go back and search and see months back of conversations people had.
No, I wouldn't actually be able to comment for real because I've never really tested it. But at least when I used RSC, the issue was that it had quite a lot of users, and people could have made private chats and stuff, but they really didn't. So the chat was just moving way too much, and because everybody had such a small slot to actually write their stuff, it became very, very it became hard to follow even your own question. So,
well, correct me if I'm wrong. The IRC is kind of like the old style bulletin board. Is that right?
I'm not sure, because I might not be sure what the old time bulletin board was, but yeah, it is, at least IRC has been around for very, very long. I remember maybe 20 years ago or something like that, where it actually was a thing, and not because it doesn't work anymore. I just liked Discord more myself. It's not the same as IRC not being a good way to have a live chat with people. But yeah, I think it's more a matter of taste. Depends on which type of interface you like.
Yeah. And I guess also your bandwidth, because the IRC is not nearly as bandwidth heavy, I believe.
No, it comes with it being less visually pleasing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.